Is Goku Black song on? Anyway. Alright guys, this is going to be potentially maybe a very long game theory video. I'm going to talk about maybe specifically why I couldn't make Dragon Ball FighterZ work for me. And how I did, of course, as any nerd or that plays video games, I wanted to make this game work. So I'm going to talk about some Vegito strategy. And I'm also going to purposely talk about some stupid stuff here, and then I'm going to, because I'm going to try to make it like a slow step-by-step process. Just like any nerd, when you think about a video game, you try to think about how could I make this game fun to play. So of course Vegito, although I don't really care about Vegito in this game, he is my favorite character. So I want to talk about some strategy and how I tried to fathom how I would play this game and if I could make the game enjoyable to me, right? And the too long didn't read is every time I tried to strategically think about the game, I could do this, I could do that. It always came back to all the fundamental problems that I've been talking about before. Because actually, I've said this before, I actually think that Vegito in this game is potentially even a pretty good character, actually. Even if we think about a cliche idea of an anime, air dashing, whatever game, whatever kind of cliche generic term we're calling these kind of games, you know, without he doesn't have legitimate high-low mix-up, it's too slow. I think the fundamental idea of Vegito, if the fundamentals in this game actually worked, and you actually had an emphasis on stuff in the game, the tag team, the real new stuff in this game, I think Vegito actually has a potential to be a good character in this game because he does have strengths that other characters don't have in this game. If you think about it strategically speaking, tactic-wise, all that kind of stuff. He's actually quite interesting, right? And I'm not just saying that's because he's Vegito, because, like I said, I don't actually like him in this game per se, but objectively speaking, I think he's pretty interesting. Just like I don't give a fuck about Krillin, but Krillin is actually potentially very interesting in this game, right? So when you think about playing a fighting game, you know what I mean? You got to think about where are like the mind games happening? What are my character's strengths? What are their weaknesses? Where, when we're getting into the guessing game part of the game, you know what I mean? Because, well, of course, we're going to talk about the whole wait your turn, my turn, very pre-planned thing of this is why this game is so annoying, but I get up sick, sorry, but you try to think, where are there points in the match that I feel like I'm winning? Where are the points in the match the guessing game is in my favor? Where do I feel rewarded for a good guess? Where do I feel cool when I did something, right? And ultimately, every time I kept trying to think about scenarios in this game, again, it would come back to the hypocritical nature of this game, the flawed fundamentals, and it always felt cheap. And not cheap in like a, oh, that's cheap, that's OD, or whatever kids say nowadays. It felt cheap and then it didn't feel very rewarding, right? So let's look at like step by step when we think of Vegito and like important things, right? And some of the important things, strategically speaking, you know what I mean? Maybe I'll teach you guys some new stuff about this game or not commonly known stuff, right? Is we have this kind of, let's set this stuff off. We don't want this stuff on because we're going to go step by step, right? Because we're thinking about my thought process on this game. We have very important moves. We have this move from mid-range. There's a very specific sweet spot of this move, and I'll show you why this is important. We have the Banshe Blast, which is apparent, you know, if the game worked how it worked, this game would be amazing, right? But instead of Vegito showing off the system destroys him, unfortunately, right? But we have this move, we have this move, and, you know, we have this move, right? Like, other characters don't have this kind of idea per se, actually, if you think about it, right? So let's look at my thought process for the Banshe Blast at first, right? I'm going to go all over the place. So I'm thinking, how can I make Vegito work, right? And so I'm thinking about, okay, what kind of strings does this dude have, right? And I'm like, well, first of all, we got to remember this forward punch. We got to remember the stun of this, right? Because we get un-too-hardable hard slashes or 2 hard slashes out of it, right? So this is important, right? So we're thinking, okay, we would want to, because we want to set this thing up, right? So because this can be a not true string, right? There's a little bit of a reflecting window out of that, actually. We want to make this as safe as possible. We would always want to, you know, try to end with that. But we're going to need a little bit of momentum for this. So boom, 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 boom. And we're like, okay, I got, you know, there's something here, I think. You know, unfortunately, this isn't doing real block damage. This game is completely messed up. There's something here. Of course, if you don't know how the game works, you might think, oh wow, this actually might be cheap. But then you think, okay, well, of course there's reflecting and homing dashing and all this kind of stuff, right? So you're like, okay, but we have an idea that we can work with here, right? So I'm thinking about this game, and I'm like, okay, well, let's set the dude first to, let's see how this works. Or what am I doing? Don't, or switch, right? What happens when the dude reflects, right? Okay, I can work with that, right? You know what I mean? I can delay it, I can punish it, you know, whatever. I mean, if he tries to reflect out of it, okay, we can work with that. I'm not upset for now, right? I'm like, okay, what happens when you super dash, right? And I'm like, okay, well, what's going on here, right? And I'm like, boom, boom. And I'm like, oh shit, I even beat super dash. I beat super dash, right? And I'm like, okay, I'm like, damn, is this actually, I'm like, is the mind game here actually reflecting? I'm like, okay. The game sucks because there's not real block damage, but I'm like, okay, we got something here, right? I'm like, shit. I'm like, okay, we have an idea here. This is, Vegito has no high-low mix-up, but he does have pressure, even if fundamentally flawed with the block damage of the game, basically doing, you know, baby shit. Something might be here, but then I was like, wait a second. And I was thinking, wait a second, this isn't real. And I was like, oh shit, this isn't real. When I looked at it like that, right? And I'm like, oh, fuck, right? And so I'm like, time out. Don't put it to guard cancel, right? I'm like, time out, wait a second. I'm like, I don't think this shit is even real. R2, right? And so then I was like, okay, let me try this. All right, first I gotta be, oh, sorry. And I can't even block that. And I'm like, oh, fuck. I can't even block that if the guy is mashing. And I'm like, I can't block this? And I'm like, oh shit. And so then we start getting into the fundamental problem of the game. Because I'm like, moves are so preset and predetermined with their plan. I'm like, oh fuck, don't tell me, right? I'm like, don't tell me the only mix-up of this is my homing dash. And I'm like, oh shit. And I'm like, so correlation does not equal causation. Homing dash versus reflecting versus fireballs is awesome. But I'm like, fuck. You know why homing dash is annoying? Because here we have again a scenario where homing dash is your best mix-up. And I'm like, oh fuck. Are you kidding me? And so I'm like, shit. And I'm like, so are you serious that right here, the real mix-up of this is really just that? Either you're doing Banshee Blast or homing dash, and we get into the idea of why the game becomes very homogenized, because almost in every instance of the game, everyone's best mix-up is the same for every character with homing dash. And it's like, fuck. And it's like, we already know my character has so little mix-up, and I'm like, ah, oh, man. And I'm like, this feels like such a boring mix-up, right? And I'm like, oh, shit, right? So I'm going to be like, oh, God, so I have to mix it up with homing dash. I'm like, ooh, fuck, there's the homogenized idea of the game at play again, right? So let's talk about some blast in general, though. Of course, something, how would we get this thing to work? Because if you look at this move in general, like, a great move. Again, I've said before that I think they should have actually had a laser beam version of the move to put some idea of homing dash versus reflecting mechanic on the game, but... So I'm like, okay, so how do we could do, you know, or wait. Oh, shit, what am I doing? Oh, fuck. Wait, what am I? Oh, shit, I suck. God damn, I suck. Yeah, there we go. Forgot what I was doing. Damn, I suck, dude. Butterfingers. Anyway. So I'm like, okay, I can do it lower to the ground, all that kind of stuff, whatever. And I'm like, is it pointful to do low to the ground right here? You know what I mean? Well, I'm like, well, looking at the frame data for this, because I'm trying to think, there's no jump canceling moves in this game, right? So there's no jump canceling moves in this game. Yeah, there we go. Jeez, damn, I'm getting exposed, man. Shows you I don't really play the game, but there you go. So I'm like, ah, fuck. And I'm like, okay, well, I'm like, that's kind of slow. So I'm like, I can see it from this range being decent, you know what I mean? Like, boom, boom. Wow, damn, my execution is terrible. Anyway, so I'm like, okay, from that range it might be okay, but what are some other ranges? Because, you know, there's no real, like, jump cancel shit in this game, right? So I'm like, well, from close up, I may as well just do this, right? Because, you know, even if the dude, you know, where is it reflects? Guard style, guard cancel. Reflect, right? So I'm like, okay. You know, I can work with that. I can work with that. You know what I mean? I can be like, okay, and I can delay it, whatever. I'm like, okay, because, you know, again, certain things are a little bit better than that thing right there. So I'm like, okay, I can work with that so that range right here. And I thought, oh, I wonder if I could do something, again, there's no jump cancels. And I was like, well, what if I do something like, hey, what am I doing? Sorry, dude, what am I doing? So I thought, what if I do a really low to the ground, like 2 hard slash like that, right? So I'm like, oh shit. And I'm like, that might be kind of fun. From that range like that, I'm like, oh shit, DB might have something, right? So I'm like, okay. But then I was like, again, we're going through my whole thought process of this game, right? And I'm like, wait a second. And I'm like, oh God, the hitbox on it is atrocious. So even when I'm like stagger pressuring like this, when I'm stagger pressuring like this, I'm also at a range where I could be able to hit that. But I'm like, oh fuck, the hitbox on it is so stupid. It's like, I can't even, you know what I mean? I'm thinking like, man, you know, I could do some stagger pressure like this, blah, 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 blah. Then throw in a random, if I didn't suck, you know, throw in a random boom, boom like that to get back in, to like mess with the stagger pressure. I'm like, fuck, the hitbox on it is so bad. It doesn't even do anything, right? So I'm like, man, right? So, you know what I mean? Like, every time I thought, maybe I can do something, it's just not working in this fucking game, right? Like, where's my thought process, right? So another thing to remember that's important in this game is we have stuff like, you know, there's like a sweet spot. We have this, or I should talk about this too, okay? So first of all, if you know how this game works, there is this move, right? This move is potentially very important, right? If you don't know, like, if you really look at that in the scope of it isn't Dragon Ball FighterZ, you know, and you're like, wow, man, that's impressive, right? But then you're like, oh, Vegito has no mix-up, whatever, blah, 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 right? And then we start thinking like, well, time out. So we have this sweet spot of orb, right? This orb, right? And the sweet spot of the orb is really important because of the way the priority system in the game works again as well. So we have something like a, you know, even boom, he's going to get beat, right? Like, no matter what he does, if he tries to jump, if he tries to do whatever, there's kind of like a sweet spot of Vegito of like harassing you with this kind of orb right here, right? What is he going to do? Oh, he might go in for that, you know what I mean? And then he's just, you know, you're basically, you know, he's just a little minus whatever. It's not like hurting him. You're dancing in and outside of this range with that. If he tries to get out of this, whatever, blah, 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 blah. We have this kind of stuff, blue, blue, blue. You know what it's trying to do. So because of the priority system of this game, this just doesn't get beat, right, with moves, right? So then, of course, we have to take into account the idea of homing dash and all this kind of stuff. And how do we get past this? And this is stuff that I explained earlier on in the game, you know. Clayton only does combo videos. Clayton already explained how the game was going to work, right? So we have the idea of that glitch that makes things unreflectable and unhoming dashable, right? So first, if we were to normally do guard cancel, homing dash, right? So we do boom, boom. Damn, that's not even close, right? That is not even close. I'm completely fucked up, right? But if we do the glitch, I'm able to block it, right? Normally just from this sweet spot, I'm fucked, right? But if we do the glitch, we can not only block it, we can get a punish. So I'm like, okay, there's something a little bit here. But even then, it's very specific to, you know, so basically, and you can do it from other things too, you know what I mean? You can be like, tap, tap, do it slow, right? And then the guy won't be able to like homing dash out as fast, right? So if I were to do, let me try to time it. If I time it badly, oh wait, so I'm trying to think, what is the example I showed? Time it badly, oh, I'm still able to block. What was the example I've showed before? Can I get like a medium punish? I forget exactly. Oh, sorry, what am I doing? Can't get the medium out, but if I do it slow, I got time slower, my bad. Then I get it, you know, so you can change the stun, right, of the thing, so you can't homing dash out of it or reflect out of it the same, you know, so you stutter step for lights and mediums, and the hard one you just do instantly, and then you can't reflect homing dash out of it, right? So you're trying to think about this, so you're thinking about like a sweet spot with this character, right? And I'm gonna go over other reasons that you can do stuff in this game as well. So there's this like sweet spot with Vegito, right? Boom, boom, I'm harassing from this range, whatever. I can make my moves unreflectable, so this stuff is more safe, and then I can potentially try to get some kind of mix up, right? You know, again, dancing in and out of this range, harassing, boom, boom. He doesn't want to take this if he attacks. Because of the priority system, he doesn't beat this. You also have stuff like this, which leaves me at 0. Look at that first time, you know what I mean? And then from that range as well, because of the priority system, or you're at 0 right there, and Vegito has a far stand light, so you're not going to beat that, right? Even though it's a frame slower than everyone's else's, right? So, and because of that, you know what I mean? You're at this range after a medium, which sets up the, well, I got the 1, but -1. You're at a range right here, which again, because of the priority system, that this is not going to get beat by any normal, basically, generally speaking, right? If they try to tap out of it, they try to jump, whatever, right? And then once you get back in, you know what I mean? Once you're at that range. So there's like a very kind of like mid kind of range you're like dancing in and out of. Maybe the guy's getting annoyed, then go boom. That's an advantage this character doesn't have, right? You know what I mean? Or other characters that don't have. They don't have this kind of grab you out of the air DP kind of move, right? So let me show some, I want to show some other things. Let me snap in Vegito here so we can actually look at some of this in real time. Now, when you can't do a hard into this to make it unreflectable, there is something you can do about this move, right? And what you do is, when you do this, when you're like harassing the guy from the sweet kind of spot range, whatever, blah, 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 you know what I mean? Trying to harass him. If you want to attack, oh, this time you try to attack, boom, boom, like that. Oh, what you do is, when you throw out the Banshee Blast, you vanish. You vanish right when you do it, and then if the guy tries to get out of it, you automatically punish them. And if they don't do anything, well, they don't do anything. Let me show you. So let me go to my recorded settings, right? And hopefully this is right. So I'm not going to try to vanish out of this, right? So that time you saw what he did, right? He's just recorded. I'm not doing anything. Boom, boom, boom. He gets a mix-up out of it. Now I'm going to try to homie dash out of it, right? See what I mean? It's already installed into the move to punish that, right? It's already installed into the move to punish it, right? That's actually a little bit harder than it looks, but that is something you can do when you know, can't do the glitch. When you can't do the glitch to make this move safe, you can just do that. So again, I'm not going to try to get out of it, boom, boom. But this time, if I try to homie dash out of it, boom. Now that's, but then again, I got into the idea of like, wow, what a fucking fundamental flaw of the game though. Because I'm like, why isn't this a counter hit? Why don't I get more damage off of this, right? And it sucks you have to do that because, let's look at this right here. Guard style, switch. Where am I? Switch, guard cancel, I'm sorry. Because stuff like this should work better. So I'm like, boom, boom. So I can do level 3, you know, if I see it coming, you know, you can do that. Or stupid things though, it's like, why does the level 1? And it would make me mad because then I would go and get into the fundamental things of why are certain supers that look like they should be frame 1 invincible? Why is my counter not frame 1 invincible? Blah, 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 blah. Why is this air move not frame 1 invincible? So I'm like, okay, what if I'm trying to bait shit like this? Can I do a super, right? Time out. So I do boom, boom. So you see it took away my bar even though I tried to super because it's not frame 1 invincible. And I'm like, what the fuck, dude? I'm like, now I'm not even getting it, right? Damn, I'm not even getting it now, dude. Shit, I am not even getting it. There you go. See, I lost it. It's like, that should beat that, dude, right? And I know, yeah, and it can even miss. And I'm just like, man, that is so annoying. So it's like, I really have to do this Vanish install. If I want this to work, I have to do this Vanish install or I have to do a super. And it's like, and it's like, man, this is a mind game. Like, if there was real counter hits in this game, I could accept it because then there's actually like a risk reward. I'm using some meter, whatever. We're getting a kind of equivalent exchange of this, I guess, if you will, right? But it's like, man, do I have to Vanish install this move? I have to Vanish install this move to make this real. And I'm like, fuck, I should be abusing the game system, and instead the game system is really working against me here, right? But there's a thing you can do. I don't know if people know you can do that, right? When you can't do the glitch with Vegito, you can actually do that, right? And unfortunately, it doesn't work from that range because you're so close to the guy. If you try to Vanish and solve the Vanish, you're just automatically going to Vanish and waste your super anyway, right? You can get it from stuff like that, and even I fucked it up here. Yeah, so I didn't Vanish there, right? But if the guy were to try to homie dash out of that one I would have got, right? So there are certain situations you can get it, but you have to be far away. So it's only specifically good, right? So let's look at some other things I thought when I was thinking about this dude, right? Let me see, I think I'm here, right? So we're thinking about, remember, you can't too hard slash that because of the orb. The orb You know what I mean? It actually does enough stun to make the homing dash real. You know what I mean? So I'm like, boom, I'm gonna try to actually get hit out of it. I'm done. So I get hit out of it, right? Now then what happens? What if I try to punish this? Well, I see that, so Vegito, some ranges, I'm thinking maybe some of this stuff might be okay, right? I'm like, okay, hards can't hit that, right? Blah, 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 from these kind of ranges. Oh, that time I got hit. I was gonna say, it actually can beat lights too, if I don't suck. Yeah, there you go, I got beat by the light. And I'm like, okay, there's something here, and like I showed in the strategy video early on in the game, I'm like, other characters then when you're doing falling, you can do a jab into that, and it beats their too hard. But every character is different, do you know what I mean? And it's also going, and some characters even mid-screen, you know what I mean? You can do some of this shit, right? It's like a guessing game. You know, it beats their too hard, but it might lose to their jab as a guessing. But then we're also getting to the fundamental problem of, it's like, goddamn, excuse me, every character's best mix-up is the fucking homing dash. Correlation doesn't equal causation. Homing dash is great. Fireballs versus reflecting homing dash and all that shit it's awesome. But when it's everyone's best mix-up, it makes the game feel more homogenized again. It makes everyone feel the same. Do you know what I mean? So let's look at some other stuff, right? So of course we have these ideas like I've been talking about. There's a very specific sweet spot of Vegito, right? You know, there's certain strings where you can be... I was -1, but you know, they generally leave you at that -1 or -0, right? And another string is, wait, what is the other string? It's, you're 0, right? And you're at this range right here. So Vegito has certain strings. And remember, we're doing orb, right? We're always doing orb in this situation, which is great. Because not only are you setting people up for the sweet spot of this orb, which we've already showed that you can then Vanish install the Banshee Blast so you can't be punished, right? We've showed you can do that. It's also this sweet kind of spot where if the character were to try to jab out of here, they're going to get beat, and I was -1 right there. That's not a bad advantage, just to go back right into whatever it is. That sweet spot right there, that's a very specific sweet spot where we're dancing in and out. You know what I mean? We can go back in for a tap, tap, whatever, blah, 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 blah. We have an advantage that most characters don't have. We can grab, you know what I mean? We're trying to play whatever the fuck we're doing, right? And so we're at that sweet spot of where, you know, the medium is 0, right? And so when we're both at 0 right here, well, they're not going to beat my jab right there, because my jab, and you know what I mean? And if they try to do a move that, because of the priority system, would beat it, well, it's just not fast enough, right? So again, a very specific spot we're thinking of here. And if the guy were to try to homing dash, of course, from this distance, we can react to it with a hard slash. So again, it's always like a stutter step here at the middle. You're stutter stepping around this middle area, and it's a very specific thing that only Vegito, not only, but Vegito specifically is doing very well. Potentially, quotation marks, right? So, where do we have? What is slot 3? What did I record for slot 3? Okay. So here we have this thing. What did I record? So we have the medium right here. We have the medium for the setup, right? To show the priority system, right? So I could probably just put in Goku, right, if I want to. Boom, boom. He stutter steps. You know what I mean? I'm going to get beat, right? If I try to jab out of that because of the priority system, if I'm Vegito, whatever it might be, right? So we stutter step here so the fireballs are unreflectable. And if we were to try to medium, we're just going to clash. You know what I mean? Stutter step, can't reflect the fireball. If I try to jab, I get beat because of the priority system, even though it's already out. And we're stutter stepping with the fireballs, which makes the fireballs then unreflectable and unhoming dashable, right? So did I go any farther this quiz? Let me see, what else did I do during this recording? Boom, boom. You see the stutter step? He's at 0, or he's at -1 right there, right? And then once he does that, if he does the jab, then again he's at 0 or -1. And then your jab is right at that specific sweet spot, right? And then when we're at this specific sweet spot, the specific sweet spot, so if the guy were to get hit, he gets hit. And then since we're at this specific sweet spot, we could also do that, which is then the glitch unreflectable Banshee Blast stuff, right? So let's take a look at that. I think I did this right. Boom, I can't get, okay, so I'm gonna try to, yeah, okay, so there we go. I'm just trying to think, what did I record here? Boom. Unreflectable. I can't punch it. Hopefully you heard my buttons. I can't do that, dude, right? Boom. We've already see if I try to attack out of there, I get beat. And I can't punish it. So all these sweet spots are leading to other sweet spots, technically, right? You see what I'm saying? Sweet spot to sweet spot, and you know what I mean? And then, so again, let's talk more. What else? What do we have recorded here? What is recorded here? Okay, so we're talking about then, what do we have when we're talking about a fighting game, and a game that is so fucking pre-planned? When the game is so pre-planned, how do I get random conversions off of shit, right? Where's the fun of hitting a random conversion and you're like, wow, I can't believe this guy hit that kind of shit, right? Because we've already seen where we can try to stagger pressure. We're harassing the guy. Ooh, he doesn't want to attack out of this. He doesn't want to attack out of this. Boom, 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 boom. We're Vanish installing the Banshee blast, blah, 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 blah. You know what I mean? There's no real mix-up, but at least if there was block damage, we could see that this is doing something, right? Sort of, right? I mean, and don't get me wrong, I still think this is too slow for what it is, right? You know what I mean? Whatever, dance again out of these rings, blah, blah, blah. This time, blue, blue, blue. Can't get out of that, you know what I mean? Sweet spot, you know, blah, 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 blah. Sweet spot, 0. Again, first time try, you know what I mean? I have fathomed how I would play this game, you know what I mean? So, we have sweet spots here. So, but where do we hit random conversions in this game? Because when this randomly hits, if we're stutter stepping in the first place, we're not going to be able, this is not going to be, you can't stutter step and react to this and then combo. But what can we react to from the sweet spot, right? So let's react to a sweet spot, right? So boom, he hits it, he delayed it right there. There's a random conversion for you, right? This is a random conversion, very doable in real matches, right? And you're like, okay, I got it. There's a random conversion, blah, 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 from a sweet spot, right? What might be another random conversion, right? Another random conversion. He's going for the sweet spot where we got, oh, I hit the random Banshee blast. Oh yeah, because of course like this too. When we're at this, you know, sweet spot, boom, boom, whatever we're doing, blah, 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 blah. You know, we might hit a random boom if he's trying to attack. Besides just this, you know, imagine he gets hit by this. Maybe he gets hit by the fireball, right? So if he gets hit by the mid-screen Banshee blast, what do we have? We have shit like this. Boom, boom, we're going in and out of that sweet spot, boom. We link the sassy kick, we boo, we do whatever kind of fucking swaggy combo we want to do. Blah, 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 blah. Vanish, grab the guy, big scoop, power dunk, whatever it's called. Go for your okizeme. Okizeme, I hate that fucking term, but... So I hate people trying to pretend they're Japanese all the time, but I guess whatever. I guess I'm a nerd too, so what can I say? But I actually think, and I've said that before, again, I think this move should be a frame faster, frame more recovery, because that is, it's a little too tight for what it is, but it's there as well. And just like we have, what is this one? Boom, boom, this game's going, boom, filling out a sweet spot, boom, just like that too, boom. You get a little conversion there, right? You know, blah, 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 blah. You get the idea. Did I have anything else recorded? What else was recorded? Boom, oh, and then we have shit like that, right? So again, we're playing around with the different Banshee blasts, the different ideas of how we do it, you know what I mean, different kind of positions, you know, whatever, so. Because again, we have, you know, kind of the momentum, whatever, if we're going to fall. Very important. Well, and you'd have to be constantly Vanish installing this move. We have this, I'm sorry. Man, dude, I suck, dude. Holy shit. What else are we doing? God damn, I'm exposed. I just want to keep doing it because I feel like so shitty for messing with so much. Holy shit. Exposed, dude. Anyway. You know, we have different ranges of this. I actually, it almost pisses me off when I do stuff like that. That actually makes me feel like I need to practice video games sometimes. I know people think I play, but that's when that shit happens, I'm like, God damn it, do I actually have to practice this game sometimes? That shit pisses me off. But anyway, so we have all these different ranges, and we're always, you know, jumping or Vanish installing the Banshee blast. We have to make sure our fireballs, when we do this, we don't want to do it fast. We do stutter steps so they can't home dash reflecting out of it, blah, blah, blah. Where the fuck we're doing. And of course, we do have stuff like this. We can throw out some random shit. Like this is actually, like this stuff is real. So this one is real. You know, so I'm like, boom, boom, like that. Like that, you don't have to worry about Vanish installing anything like that. But so anyway, when I'm thinking about stuff like this too, let me get hit. And I start thinking about like, man, it's like, well, fuck, I guess he has a sweet spot. I can see like a strategy. I can see me trying to set stuff up. You know what I mean? There's something there, but man, it is so fucking specific, dude. Like if I were to do, okay, so you saw what I recorded earlier. So let me just say, let me just be a little bit too close when I do this. I did the glitch, right? Oh God, do you see that, dude? And it's like, dude, it's very specific. Some of these sweet spots are again, there's setups to do them better, but some of them are like, again, let's see it again, dude, right? Oh, sorry. And it's like, man, even from that range, I got punished, and it's just like, ugh. And it's like, dude, I can see the ideas are here, but they're very fucking specific, and you're not doing real block damage. Do you know what I mean? And it's like, shit, there is a mind game here. There is a sweet spot. I'm dancing in and out of this range. I can stutter pressure you. I can Vanish, install my moves. You know what I mean? Try to protect myself. But then I'm like, the Vanish isn't doing a counter hit. It's doing a counter hit, but it's not doing real damage. You know what I mean? And it's like, and it's like, and I'm not doing real block damage. You know, I can see it's kind of fun that I'm like, okay, there's something here. There's some kind of real idea, not just a pre-planned idea of frame data. You can try to make it like a real game. I can dance in and out. I can do this, blah, blah, blah. But then it's like, man, it's so specific. And then you go back to the end of the day, it feels so cheap because it's like, you know what, dude? Why? You just go back to the idea and it's like, man, okay, I can see some of this stuff is theoretically plausible, right? He has some real strengths that other characters don't have. You know what I mean? I'm grabbing shit. But then you get into ideas, well, why isn't this anti-air invincible even though he's in there too, right? That's fucking retarded. Don't get me into that. And then you get into, let's say this like, sorry. You get into like, okay, he has a counter, he has a DP, but you're like, wait a second. My DP is in frame 1 and you can Vanish? And so then you're like, so we're getting into what I've talked about here. We're like, so I have some stuff here, right? I have some potential mix-up. But to make my potential mix-up work, I always have to do homing dash, which goes back to the homogenized idea of the game. Everyone's mix-up is the same, from a sense, which makes it feel very cheap and unrewarding. Makes it feel very unspecial. You know what I mean? And it's like, fuck. And why does homing dash mix-up work as good as it is, but considering how slow it is? A lot of times because you think, well, the game is a tag team game. It's a hectic game. So it feels very hypocritical. It's like, why do homing dash mix-up work as well as they do? Because you don't know when I'm going to assist. All that kind of shit. And it's like, then we're getting into the hypocritical nature of the game. It's a tag team game that literally discourages synergy besides using homing dash and reflection. Homing dash and the assist. We don't want double supers. Again, I could think Vegito, he has bad mix-up, but at least if he hits you in the first season, it's like, well, if he hits you, very easy double super setups. That you got to give him a strength. You got to take what you can get. But they're like, no, we don't want double supers. And it's like, fuck, such a hypocritical tag team game, right? And we get into stuff like this. Okay, at least he has a DP. But you're like, the DP is not only frame 1, and you can Vanish it. So you're like, well, how are you going to hit this? How are you going to hit that in a one-on-one match if the guy is not falling asleep? And you're like, well, the only way, real reason, generally speaking, it can't happen, but generally speaking, you think the only way this is actually going to be hitting in a real match is because the game is hectic. Because it's a tag team game and there's a lot of shit going on the screen at once. But if we're thinking about the game one-on-one, generally speaking, come on, you can react to that if you have super. The risk reward is just kind of like, it's there, but it's like, man, dude, it's like, it's only working because it's a tag team game most of the time. And I understand it is a tag team game, but again, it's a hypocritical tag team game. And you should never make a tag team game off the idea that you want your characters just to be weak individually speaking. Because that's fucking stupid. You want your character to feel special. You want your character to have archetypes to them, right? To make them stand out in the crowd. And even we have fundamental flaws. I'm like, well, okay, he still has this strength. That is something that no one else has. When he's stagger pressuring you, you know what I mean? If this game was doing real block damage, well, at least if stuff like this was more real, so we want to get him to hit like this. Let's just say he does, I don't know. This isn't a real combo, but boom, boom. Oh, sorry. What do I want? I want him to be air recovery back, right? So boom, boom. And I'm like, oh, and I'm like, shit. Shit like that should, like, dude, you should not be so throw invincible, right? Excuse me. Because even then I'm thinking like, you know what? Maybe when you're doing supers, if this move, you know, the guy can hold down to fall down, to keep down, whatever. But maybe he's teching. Maybe stuff like this is better legitimate. You know, maybe after whatever kind of sliding knockdown. Say I'm doing a sliding knockdown. You know, maybe I'm going for hard. I'm doing Banshee Blast. I'm going crazy Banshee Blast all over the fucking place. Maybe I guess the guy's going to tech. But there's times when the guy can tech and this can miss when situations it shouldn't miss because you're just too throw invincible. And again, it just goes back to the, I'm like, God, everything I do in this game feels so cheap. The guessing game, and it doesn't feel cheap in that it's cheap per se. It feels cheap and unrewarding. You know what I mean? It feels like it's just such a bullshit guessing game because my stuff doesn't fundamentally work as well as it should. It feels like it's hard to force, and this is again because the game there's no block damage too. You know what I mean? Like, how do I force my hand in this game? Even if this is kind of a guessing game, it's not doing any block damage, right? How do I force my hand in this game to really make it when it's not doing real block damage? It's like I can see an idea is kind of there. I can see, you know, the glitch in the game, you know, to make stuff unreflectable. You know, this is whatever. I could be doing, you know, boom, I actually have an overhead, I guess. But again, we can't. It's hard to make the guy, there you go, boom, boom. I guess that's kind of a thing, right? So, boom, that's my low. He kind of jumps up in the air, I guess, you know what I mean? And because it's his down punch, you can't just jab him out of that, it's real. So it's like, I guess there's sort of a mix-up here, but it's just kind of like, man, how am I forcing my hand with this character? And when I think about games, it's like, how would I beat myself? And it's just like, ugh, and it's like, everything just goes back to the fundamental flaws of the game for me. You know what I mean? I've thought of how would I play the game seriously? How would the game work? How do you think I knew there's this glitch in the game? Because I studied the game and I could tell what was going on during the beta. I knew this stuff worked. How was I able to call how the game was going to strategy-wise work? You know what I mean? Because I looked at it, right? How have I been able to call games for 20 years? How was I able to win all these tournaments? You don't think I wasn't playing 8 hours a day because I know how games work, right? I could see the ideas of this, right? I had thought about the game strategically speaking, but I just couldn't think of a way to make the game fun. Because anything I do, the risk reward was not correct. I can understand I have some weaknesses, but the advantages I should have are not like they should be. Do you know what I mean? Anyway, this video's probably been pretty long, so I'll do another game theory video maybe later.